Welcome to the Swimming from Home talk show. I'm here with Bruno Fratus. How have you been spending this quarantine time so far?
Well, first off, I've been sleeping a lot. Yeah, sleeping is playing a big role right now. And I've been playing a lot of video games, that's for sure. A lot of PlayStation in my day. But at the same time, when I'm not sleeping or playing video games, I am doing everything I can to I don't even know if I can say stay in shape because swimming is a very tricky sport. There's nothing specific. There's nothing really specific to swimming than swimming inside an actual swimming pool.
Yeah.
And they're all closed now, so it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to stay in swimming shape, but I'm definitely trying to stay somehow in shape, doing a few home exercises, going for eventual runs outdoors with my dogs, and walking and trying to keep my diet somehow close to what it is, the ideal for to keep me lean and overall healthy. I think it's more about being healthy than being in shape or lean or anything right now. And also being studying the effects of detraining, being studying a little bit about sports psychology, been researching a lot of podcasts, a lot of talks with professionals in the area. I do believe when you inform yourself, when you educate yourself on the several facets of your craft, that can go a long way in the end result.
Yeah. What have you learned from those podcasts or those talks that you've been listening to?
Yeah, podcasts are a small part of it. We're reading a lot, most of it in Portuguese, of course. But been learning mainly about the stages of the training and how can you prevent one stage of the other of happening earlier. You know how to prolong your physical and also mental conditions. The aspect of sports psychology has been really interesting too. Been learning a lot, not only about competitive swimming, but also about, a full spectrum of sports psychology. The other day, I was listening a webinar about sports initiation with pre-teenagers, which was really really interesting.
Yeah. Um,
Just trying to keep my mind busy, you know.
yeah.
I mean, once you're kind of addicted to training and to performing and to the daily struggle of training hard, you can get really really bored once you're locked at home.
I know my week of boredom was last week and I just kind of completely lost it. I couldn't find ways to keep myself entertained enough and had to get pretty
It's hard.
creative.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Especially, I mean, there's not much you can do with body weight exercises. You know, like you're just doing endless numbers of push-ups and air squats. No, I want actual weights. I want barbells. You know, it's hard.
Yeah. Are you still in Miami right now?
I am close to Miami. I'm actually a county above. I'm in Broward County, Coral
Okay.
Springs,
Okay. Gotcha.
but I'm like pretty good for Miami.
Yeah. And is that, I mean, you're able to go outside pretty regularly. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, I go outside. It's not like we're in complete shutdown like some European countries.
Mm-hmm.
We can still go outside. I think there are only two things that really changed in my life. It's one, the fact that obviously the training facility is closed, so I cannot train.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only the training facility that I usually go, it's every single swimming pool and gym. I mean, at a at a few counties radius. It's there's not a single option I can swim at. And the fact that you have to wear a mask when you go to the supermarket. I mean, besides that, I don't think there's a lot that changed. I mean, even the traffic seems pretty much the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm surprised at like how many cars are on the streets here in Texas. Um, because I mean it's kind of less, but there's still like a lot of people out and about whenever I go out.
Yeah, it's hard because you have to understand that for our generation, and we don't really have an idea of what it is to stay quarantined at home due to something that is potentially lethal.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken. I'm not really sure what I'm talking about, but I believe that the last time something like this happened, it was at the Second World War, right?
Right.
People
Yeah.
had to stay at home because there was like imminent danger outside. And
Yeah.
even though it was not the same situation, so yeah, it's something completely new.
Definitely.
So you cannot expect that everyone really, really understands what's going on and relate to the danger, and realize that yeah, it's life threatening. So let's not go out. We're used to a really convenient, really comfortable lifestyle. So it's gonna take a while for people to really get inside their heads the information that no, you cannot go outside.
Yeah. I mean I feel like I've gotten used to it by now, but yeah, it's very bizarre. Has this do you feel pretty comfortable being at home this much?
I like being at home. I like being at home, but I like doing what I want to. I like going to cafes, and I really love trying different restaurants. And I love going to the beach. My dogs love going to the beach.
Hmm.
And I mean, of course, not mentioning that I love to train. I love to work hard, and I love to go to the pool. I love to spend countless hours every week in the gym. I love lifting weights. I think my sport of choice after swimming is definitely weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. So that's what I love doing besides swimming. So yeah, I like being at home, but I don't know if I love being at home that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you pretty much train by yourself, I think. What does a typical training day look like for you?
It's me and well, Michelle's my coach.
Hmm.
I am one lucky bastard of being married to my own coach.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's also Surinamese swimmer. His name is Renzo,
Yeah.
and yeah, he trains with me. We train
Okay.
together here at Coral Springs. But I mean, it's just the three of us every day in the pool.
Hmm.
So it starts in the morning. We give preference to train in the morning, do the main session in the morning. That's it's always been like that, at least with me.
Hmm.
And we usually start somewhere between 8 and 9 a.m.
Hmm.
We are really flexible with the schedule. We usually just go in whenever time we feel we're ready. I mean, it came to a point where it wasn't really helping trying to fit 6 a.m.s and 7 a.m.s. It wasn't being productive at all. So we just pushed that to 8, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Sometimes even 10, depending on the session. And we do whatever we need to do. We usually work with a lot of intervals, a lot of high intensity stuff. We don't do a lot of what people call garbage yardage,
Hmm.
So we have a lot of recovering and a lot of power, a lot of high octane stuff during our main session. So we take something between an hour and a half and 2 hours and a half a session. Then come back, lunch, nap, do whatever you need to do, like outside of swimming during the day. You like whatever else you want to do. And we're back in the pool between 5 and 6 p.m. I mean, when I say the pool, I mean the facility. And we either go for a sprint session, which is just short bursts, and then nothing really above 25 yards. Actually, nothing really above a 9-second effort. So if you're going for a 25 yard, you better swim under the 9-second mark. Otherwise, you're gonna
Yeah.
in the session. Or gym, or we going for lift, and it's pretty much it. We swim a lot at a kids pool. We swim a lot at the warm pool. I do love a good 90-degree swimming pool. So yeah, I spend a lot of time at the warm pool as well.
That's awesome. I think that's the dream.
Oh man, I just passed this phase. I do believe that I need to do 6 a.m. because that's what you do. You know, I question that. I really question that. I also question any swimming pool below 70 degrees. That's something I do not tolerate. It's cold water. I mean, if you want to ruin my day, turn the heater off. That's how it goes. That's how it pretty much goes every time.
I think that's smart. I mean, I think especially for younger swimmers, like the early morning swims, it's like I feel like it's much more valuable to sleep.
I don't know. I think when you're young, you need to have a taste of the struggle. You know, it builds character. I do believe that. I do believe when you're young, you need to do your even 5 a.m.s before. I don't know what time colleges swim, but you need to go really early before your class. You know, and then you need to like bust your ass. I mean, sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss here, but you need to go really hard at training and then go to the class and then come back to training. I mean, I think when you're young, that's important to teach you a little bit of hard work.
Yeah.
You know, I did myself more than a couple hundreds when I was 15, 16, even 17. You know, I do believe in that. But once you're 30 and once you already have like a couple Olympic games in the baggage, I think it's more of a fact of working smarter than working harder. You know, of course you need to keep working hard, but you need to be smart about things. And actually that's one of the reasons I believe we have so much 30-year-olds swimming in such high level right now. It's because people have learned how to work smarter. It's not only about like hammering all the time. So you need to know what's good for you and you need to work smarter. But before that, you need to learn how to deal with the struggle. You need to learn how to become comfortable on discomfort, you know?
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you're game for it, I would love to talk about your swimming past because I think you took a pretty untraditional route compared to, I mean, certainly a lot of swimmers in America, which I don't even know your route that much. I think you trained at Auburn for a while, but you didn't swim for Auburn, right?
Yeah, no, I think the main difference between especially American and Australian swimmers from the rest of the world is that in America and in Australia, I assume they have a plan. They have a really well elaborate plan. You know, once you know the American system, all the USA Swimming guidelines, I mean, it's just beautiful. You have this whole plan since the development of the athlete when he or she is a kid, all the way to age groups, and then you swim in high school, you swim junior Olympics, and you swim like you go to college, and you have a whole recruitment system. Then the only part I think it lacks a little bit of attention of development is the pro part of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come to the age of being a pro, you're most likely have a diploma, a college degree. So it's, I mean, not that much of a problem, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a plan. And where I come from in Brazil, the plan is to keep swimming against the current if you need to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you have very few opportunity to become, very little opportunity of becoming a pro, of getting a spot in the big clubs, because that's where the athletes, not only swimmers but all kinds of Olympic athletes, they develop themselves. It's inside the club, and when you get in a club, you have this huge this you have to pretty much battle for the attention of the staff, of the coaching staff. At least
Sorry.
I talk about my experience, that when I got to one of these clubs at 17 years of age, it pretty much proved that I deserved to be there, you know. And oh, I'm running out of battery now. Just hold on.
No worries.
I think you're getting the idea. It's not like here where you pretty much have a guaranteed spot at some
Yeah.
team. If you're not going to first division, you're going to second, you're going to third, but you pretty much have a guarantee that you're gonna keep swimming somehow,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And yeah, you have to. As I said before, it's a great scenario for you to learn how to deal with struggle, with pressure, with you see that we don't have we play around that when you're United States, when you're an American swimmer, you become special when you go to the Olympics and you don't get a medal, you know. That's what makes it different from the rest. I mean, in Brazil, when you go to the Olympics and you go to World Championships, and you get a medal, you're pretty much of a big deal. You know, people start looking at you. In the United States, that's the rule. I mean, when you go to World Championships, I mean, you're gonna get more than a few medals for a fact. I mean, that's how good the team is.
Yeah. And so, how did you end up training in the United States?
Yeah, that was already. I was already. I mean, I was already pretty much into the pro life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I told you I first became a pro at 17,
Mm-hmm.
São Paulo. That's when in 2006. That was when I finished high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to go to São Paulo. I lived in another area of Brazil. I decided to go to São Paulo to try and be a swimmer in one of these big clubs. And then I started. That's where I started really hustling and really training as a Olympian. I back then when I got to the club, I used to. I mean, there was like Cesar Cielo and Nick Santos and Guilherme Guido. There was a lot of people training this club, and I was trying to look up to them and trying to learn as much as I could from them. And that's when I started to learn about this world, about the swimming world, you know. But I remember back then I didn't even knew that it was a possibility to go to college and have your college paid by your just by your swimming in the United States. I mean, that's how let me say ignorant I was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And years later, I went to 2012 Olympic Games in London. After London, me and my coach, who was Arilson Soares, who I'm working with again since last year. And we decided to go to Italy,
Mm-hmm.
and we spent some time in Italy. And I got hurt in Italy, so I dislocated my shoulder during a gym session.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was always a little crazy at the gym, you know, trying to lift big weights. So I just had a brilliant I just had the brilliant idea of trying to snatch some ludicrous amount of weight above my head.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that proved to not to be a great idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hurt myself for the first time, and then 2013 I had to come back home for surgery,
Mm-hmm.
repair my shoulder, spend the rest of the year recovering.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, I knew I needed something different, because things in Brazil, they change a lot every Olympics. I mean, here too, but at the Olympics, I mean, especially with funding and the dynamics of the clubs and the roster of the clubs, they change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2012, as part of one of these changes, I went to Italy, hurt myself, and came back, repaired my shoulder. By the end of 2013, I knew I needed something different because back then, I mean, I decided to split ways with Ari, and I was recovering with the national team coach back in São Paulo,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I decided to send a message to Coach Brad Hawk, who was coaching in Auburn at the time. And yeah, so he said yes, and we spent a few wonderful years at Auburn. We had amazing, great results.
Yeah. And so then, how'd you end up in Coral Springs?
That's when I came to US and I looked around and say, oh, that's why these guys win everything. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Yeah, it was a really big change of pretty much everything I knew about, not only about training, but about team dynamics and about teamwork and about even discipline. And I had to forget a lot of my concepts and learn new concepts to try and thrive in this environment.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I love it. I keep learning every day, and I try to stay in touch with as many people as I can, like athletes and coaches and psychology and everyone, so I can learn more and more about the sport and about performance itself. And in Coral Springs, how did I end in Coral Springs? Coral Springs always been kind of an iconic place for Brazilian swimmers. I mean, most of the great Brazilian swimmers that came before me, they trained in Coral Springs. I mean, Flávia de Laroli, Joana Maranhão, Thiago Pereira. And I think the biggest of them all, and who is my biggest idol in Brazilian swimming, is Fernando Scherer. Fernando is a guy who I grew up watching, and when I was a little kid, when I was 10, 9-year-old, I used to say that I wanted to be like Fernando. I mean, of course, there was Gustavo Borges,
mm-hmm.
and they were kind of the two forces of Jedi. One was the dark force, another one was the guy with the blue saber.
Mm-hmm.
Fernando he always seemed to me this anti-hero. He was an amazing athlete. He was an amazing role model, but he was still a badass. So he was this guy. When you watch these races back in the 90s, and there's always like a bald guy with mirror swedes.
Yep.
I mean, that's the most badass he gets, and Fernando was one of them. And yeah, I look up to him big time, and I still do. We're very good friends today. But Fernando used to swim here. Actually, I broke a couple of his club records when I came here, and I started giving him crap on WhatsApp. And it was always an iconic place. So at some point, I have to get out of Auburn because Brad was starting to focus. He had to focus more on the college team.
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't afford having pros around anymore. So I had to look for another place, and Coral Springs was pretty much no brainer, even because the head coach here is also Brazilian, so the dialogue it flows really easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bruno.
Nice.
Coach Bruno. We even have the same first name, so I mean, it's any easier than that.
Natural fit. Yeah.
A natural fit. And I love being here. I mean, I love South Florida. South Florida, it's pretty much like Brazil here. The weather, the people, the way people drive, it's pretty bad too. It's just like Brazil. I feel at home here.
That's great. Well, awesome.
I mean, I just have a Brazilian grocery store down the street, like 10 minutes. I mean, I buy all kinds of Brazilian food here, so it's amazing.
That is amazing. That sounds perfect.
It is. It is. And I mean, not mentioning the facility, the swimming pool, it's a state of the art swimming pool. It has everything any Olympian might ask for. It's a great swimming pool. It's beautiful. It has palm trees along the way. You can see all over the Everglades when you go up the diving boards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a very good place. I like to call it my sanctuary because that's how much I love it here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, awesome, dude. Thanks a lot for talking to me. That was great.
Yeah, man, call me anytime. I'm being pretty bored here, so anytime you want to talk, we can make like kind of entertainment television for swimmers. We can talk all kinds of gossips. And no, I don't like that.